The story begins on one certain night. Corpses were all over the ground, bridges had fallen, and mana particles filled the air. Amidst the chaos, someone was running at full speed, a girl, to be exact. She was being chased by some men determined not to let her and her assailant escape, but someone told them to stop chasing. Surprised, they looked back. The man, Continental Master Zhang Richu, remarked that chasing them would just lead to pointless bloodshed. Right now, the priority is consciousness, he said. Richu looked at the ground where the corpse of Kim Si-hyuk lay, his head severed. With a grin, Richu remarked that Si-hyuk was surprisingly impressive for a man from a small country, but that was all. How dare someone like him, a hero of a fallen kingdom, think they can compete, he blurted. Now, with a sinister smile, his voice echoed as he proclaimed that he, Zhang Richu, was the one truly worthy of being a godlike figure. He looked up. Did you see that? He said. I, Zhang Richu, kept my promise to you. At that moment, red thunder rumbled from the heavens, followed by the opening of a giant eye. The eye opened fully. Yes, you did it, Richu, it commented. Richu, his face filled with greed, told the eye that now it was its turn to keep its promise. He requested to ascend as Earth's constellation. His voice echoed again as he shouted with vigor that he should ascend as the so-called celestial. The eye agreed. The unknown constellation requested from the system the birth of Earth's constellation number 274. Richu smiled as he looked at the system. The system began analyzing the situation, then told Richu that he did not meet the qualifications to be a constellation. Surprised, Richu stared in disbelief. The system decided to expand its search and discovered that the individual qualified for the constellation position was dead. Therefore, there was no further reason to conduct the arena on Earth number 274, since the arena for Earth number 274 was fully terminated. The protective rights for Earth number 274 were withdrawn, marking the end of the galaxy arena. Richu was dumbfounded. His greed had finally backfired. He blamed the big eye for daring to deceive him. Didn't you say if I killed Kim Si-hyuk, I could ascend to the celestial rank? He shouted. The eye replied, yes, that is what I said, and as you wished, I requested your ascension. It's just that you didn't have the qualifications. Now, thunder from the big eye rampaged furiously, surrounding Richu and his men, then striking the area, injuring Richu in the process. Richu called the constellation a bastard, but the constellation didn't care about his insults. The unknown constellation laughed at the enjoyable situation and the fresh moment, then told Richu that it would devour his world. At the same time, in a particular area, the girl who was being chased forcefully pushed a door open, calling out for Kim Si-mun. She called him a bastard as she saw him on the ground, surrounded by books and alchemy materials. She lashed out at Si-mun, the protagonist of this story, for being so calm when the world was falling apart. Si-mun calmly asked her what else an alchemist would do if not perform alchemy, then continued reading his book. She was speechless at his behavior, then threw a bag at him, telling him to take it. Si-mun was surprised as he saw the item in the box. The item was an elixir, its grade unknown. It was a legendary product of alchemy, a universal medicine said to work even on gods. Si-mun, his voice shaking, asked what happened. Can't you tell? She remarked. As you expected, that bastard Zhang Richu betrayed your brother. Though Si-hyuk knew how to use the elixir, after the guild members died, they tossed it over to her. Si-mun exhaled, then calmed down, his weak-looking body appearing as if he would die in no time. The girl told him that with this, she had repaid the debt she owed him. Si-mun sighed and questioned if she was still holding on to that. She told him, of course. In a way, my revenge led to your brother's death, but Si-mun told her it wasn't true. Your revenge was just, and those people deserved punishment. My brother's death and your revenge are separate issues. As she was about to leave, Si-mun stood up, surprised she was leaving right after showing up. Off to struggle, she remarked. She added that she had seen that bastard Zhang Richu summon something truly amazing. But Si-mun had no idea what she was talking about. You saw the system's announcement too, right? About the withdrawal of the protective rights? She questioned. Si-mun replied, yes, I was shocked when I saw it. They said it was because the constellation's qualification holder had died. Si-mun explained that if anyone held such a qualification, it would be his younger brother, Kim Si-hyuk, the Sword Saint. I don't know about anyone else, but I know since I'm the only one who saw my brother's status screen. She told him, whatever is going on, it looks like it's gone really bad, and added that Si-mun would die for sure this time since this place wasn't safe either. Si-mun asked her, then why aren't you running away? With a grin she told him, running away isn't really my style. Well, I don't have a reason to run anymore. She then told Si-mun not to forget to drink the elixir, saying, the great sword saint gave up his life and handed it over, but Si-mun sarcastically told her, it was originally mine. As she left, she felt thankful to Si-mun for everything. Si-mun activated his status screen. From the screen, it could be seen that his title was not shown. His ability was magic, and he was affiliated with the Republic of Korea. He was a level 1 player, with a strength of 1, agility of 1, health of 3, and 0 mana. His ability was mana incapacity. With achievement points of 5,000, Simun was disappointed at his pathetic stats. But worrying was pointless now. He needed an energy source for alchemy, and somehow it perfectly aligned with his goal. After awakening, it was the culmination of all his time. He wouldn't have dreamed of this if he hadn't obtained the emerald tablet. As he opened the elixir, he wondered if what was left in it was just poison. Well, at least my mind hasn't collapsed. And I even have the elixir, which could be called the pinnacle of alchemy, he thought. He managed to create it. As he poured it on the tablet, he felt appreciative towards Sihyuk and the girl, Malsuk. Because of them, he achieved his life's goal and would die, though he wasn't sure if he'd succeed in this environment. But alchemy was based on equivalent exchange. He then began the main process. The mana rumbled violently in the magic circle, but Simun held on strongly. Then came a huge surge of mana, charging out of the roof and into the sky. Now, with a damaged magic circle, sitting at the center was this shattered tablet and a round-shaped item, probably formed from the tablet. He got a message that he had successfully transmuted a mythical product. He was happy at his success. He received multiple messages, informing him that he had earned 5,000 achievement points and created 2 mythical alchemy products. He earned the title Pioneer of Alchemy, which was his first title. The stone he created from the tablet was called the Philosopher's Stone. Its grade unknown. It was possible to bind it to a user. It was a mythical alchemy creation capable of transmuting anything, as long as the principle of equivalent exchange was fulfilled. He curiously looked at the stone, realizing it was a bound item. If that was the case, he scratched his hand, then poured his blood on the stone. As it absorbed the blood, it recognized Simon as the bindable host and began reacting, which surprised Simon. It then forcefully went into Simon's chest. Suddenly, the roof was broken by a human's head. He was horrified to see that the head belonged to Malsuk. The constellation who killed Malsuk was surprised to see the Philosopher's Stone with Simun. He remarked in disbelief, even after seeing it in person. Simun shivered in fear at the overwhelming presence before him. The constellation questioned if the stone's power lay in its potential to create a constellation. He never expected such a harvest. Simun was shocked as he realized that both his brother and Malsuk had died because of this unknown constellation, but he was unable to do anything due to his mana incapacity. He then got a message that synchronization was complete, and the Philosopher's Stone had fully settled. His mana stat was converted into the unique stat of transmutation power. He also obtained an achievement for acquiring unique stats. Simon had no idea what the message meant by unique stats. The Philosopher's Stone reacted, telling Simun that it wanted him to transmute whatever he desired. As he clenched his teeth, what he wanted most was to strike back at the unknown constellation. The energy in his body roared violently, leaving Simun groaning in pain. With his desire in mind, the system began searching for a suitable target within Simun's categories. The search didn't bring any results, so the system decided to consume transmutation power to independently expand the search area. When the search was complete, it informed Simun that the most suitable target was an unknown book. The system stated that the required power for equivalent exchange was sufficient, and that, based on Simun's current state, the Philosopher's Stone's own transmutation power was being used. Independent transmutation had begun. Simun, unconscious and controlled by the Philosopher's Stone, raised his hand. With a single flick of his fingers, he created something that even the unknown constellation was surprised to see. He received a message that at the birth of an artifact never created before, the original owner, an unknown constellation, stirred from slumber and turned its attention toward Kim Simun. The unknown constellation raged in disbelief, not knowing how it was possible for a human to recreate his foolish father's legacy for the first time. As Simun lay unconscious, he woke to a message that said he had attracted the attention of a celestial being and gained 1,000 achievement points. He had also caught the attention of an unregistered constellation in the galaxy arena, earning him the title, the one who receives attention from beyond. Simun wasn't sure what had just happened, but he knew one thing: he had definitely struck back at that bastard. His eyes closed gradually as he looked at Malsuk's head. After he died, as usual, the next thing that happens is them waking up and looking around. Simun immediately stood up as he realized he was in his studio apartment. He wondered if those bloodshot eyes that faced him just now were just a trick of the mind. It felt like death was coming his way. That distant feeling still lingered. He then heard his phone ring, picked it up, and was surprised to see a phone. The nations that were standing were the United States and China, but they too were full of chaos. That's why his phone was thrown away a long time ago. Besides that, he was surprised to see the year was 2030, so he wondered if he had gone back 11 years into the past. He was surprised to see that he was now back to being 28 years old. Back then, it was clear that the Philosopher's Stone took control of his body and created something unknown. So he wondered if that thing brought him back to the past. But that wasn't all. It felt different from the past. Even though he was 28 years old again and back in the past, He still couldn't feel happiness. That was because he was going through a really hard time in that period due to the magic disability he got from an accident. And he had to wear glasses because his vision wasn't good. His senses were flawed. But now, the stifling feeling of oppression due to a lack of magic was completely gone, so he decided to find out more about what was going on. He then activated his status window. He now had the title Pioneer of Alchemy, but what's more surprising was his trait, now called Philosopher's Stone, though it was currently unstable. He was surprised to see that instead of Magic State, it was now Philosopher's Stone. Then what about the Philosopher's Stone on his chest? Simon questioned. He wondered if it changed into a trait through attribution. Anyway, the Philosopher's Stone seemed to have granted him his wish. He couldn't hold in his laughter. He never expected such a day would come. The magic disability that was like shackles burdening him his entire life was now gone. Knowing this, he couldn't possibly stay calm, so he stood up to get something to drink. He took a beer from the fridge, opened it, and took a drink. He said to himself that the headache from moving due to the magic disability had vanished, and there was more than one thing that had changed. All of his stats had also been restored to their original state. What's more, he could now taste the true flavor of beer. The average for level 1 was 10 in all stats, and he was still one short. A 10 stat was only something super rookies had, but to his surprise he saw that he had a stat of 10. In addition, it was no longer magic, but affinity. He then recalled the system informing him that the stat magic had been converted into a unique stat called affinity, and he had achieved the achievement possession of a unique stat. He deemed it amazing since he now also had a unique stat, and he had it at level 1. There were only a small number of players who had unique stats in Simon's previous life, and most of them rose to high levels, like Siyuk and Jung Richu. No one knew what happened to the rest. By the way, he wondered what the hell was going on here. He had achievement points of over 1 million. He didn't know where they were coming from, but he decided to think about it after opening the achievement shop. He then pressed the button to look into the titles given to him. He saw many titles, but what caught his attention was Pioneer of Alchemy, a growth-type title given to an alchemist who had synthesized all of the mythical elements of alchemy. Because of the title, he'd get a very small bonus related to affinity. Simon was surprised to see it. He deemed it insane since it was a class-related title and also a growth type. He grinned slightly, thinking that Malsuk, who could be described as a relatively latecomer among the high rankers, was able to reign as a high ranker thanks to the fraudulent title she received from the Heavenly Demons constellation. Now he had something like that too. He decided to look at the other titles to see what else he got. He also received the title, The One Who Receives Attention from Beyond, given to those who had received attention from beyond. No one knew whether it was good or bad luck, but it was certainly something incredible. He had no idea when he got a title like that. Attention from beyond? Curious, he wondered what the system meant by beyond. Was it supposed to be something different? He decided not to think much about it since a title was better than nothing, and the most important thing was that his magic had been restored. So he decided to give his skills a try. First, he decided to break down the ignition formula, then change it into a proper magic form and use affinity, but it dissipated. He was disappointed, but he expected it. Even though it was the same magic world, he wondered if it was impossible to use magic with his new power. He opened his drawer and brought out a piece of chalk, thinking that things would be different if he drew a magic circle. Originally, he was supposed to draw it. He then began drawing it. In the past, so much damage had been done in the end that he couldn't use magic. But now, with his affinity, there would be great benefits. Before he could start drawing, however, the Philosopher's Stone suddenly went into a frenzy. It was as a result of his body denying it. But he realized it was because of the Philosopher's Stone. The method he was about to use was deemed inefficient by the Philosopher's Stone. That's why it went into a frenzy. Thinking about it, Simon wondered how the Philosopher's Stone had transformed after he got it. He recalled the methods it used in the past when he was unconscious. Now, instead of drawing a mana circle, he raised his fingers, closed his eyes, and thought about what he wanted to materialize. He thought about something in the shape of a spear, so he decided the spear should look like the one used by Jung Richu. The stronger the ability, or additions to it, the better. The price he decided to pay for it was the affinity he had. He flicked his hand to make it a reality, but he felt a painful backlash from the Philosopher's Stone, making him scream in pain. The system informed him that there wasn't enough affinity to achieve the desired result, and the unstable Philosopher's Stone sought a different approach, one found in Simon's possession. In its unstable state, the Philosopher's Stone required 1 million achievement points for recovery. Simon was shocked at the Philosopher's Stone's absurd demand, but he calmed down. Thinking about it, the Philosopher's Stone had cured his magic disability and sent him back 11 years into the past. Though it felt like a waste, he decided to trust the Philosopher's Stone because it had already proven its worth. He pressed the yes button, consuming 1 million achievement points, which completely stabilized the Philosopher's Stone. Simon was very happy because alchemy would be much easier now. He decided to try again, but there was still no response. He got another message stating there wasn't enough affinity to achieve the desired result, which really pissed him off. Though he was a little frustrated, he remembered how, Even in a desperate situation when he had a magic disability, he was able to create a mythical weapon. So, there was no way he wouldn't be able to create a single spear with his newfound powers. Another message appeared, informing him that to establish an equivalent exchange, the Philosopher's Stone required 500 achievement points. He was then asked if he'd like to proceed. He grinned and sarcastically remarked that it seemed like the 1,000,000 points weren't enough, but he decided to proceed. Now he decided to try again, praying that his invested points would be worth it. With a flick of his finger, there was a sudden outburst of thunder, which sent something through his window and pierced the ground. He was surprised himself, as it almost took out his legs. He then got a message saying, "An unknown constellation is watching you." At the same time, somewhere unknown, inside a room filled with masked people, Simon got a message that the constellation Hermes takes notice of the sudden appearance of the lightning bolt from Olympus. Also, the constellation Athena takes notice. Many constellations took notice. Seeing this, Simon wonders why the constellations are suddenly interested in him. The Olympus constellations are surprised because of the traces left behind, and they're hastily shuffling around, but only 3 individuals remain calm. Among them, the ruler of Olympus, the constellation Zeus, shows great interest in Simon. Simon was surprised to see that the constellations retreated because of the traces left behind, so he wondered if it was because of the title "The One Who Receives Attention from Beyond." That aside, he had no idea what this sudden chaos the spear had caused. He looked at the spear emitting thunder, then grabbed it with his hand, causing lightning bolts to flow through his body. As he held the spear, he got a message. The spear's name is Astrafe. It's a counterfeit grade and only contains 10% of the original's power. It's the spear of Zeus, the ruler of Olympus. It can control lightning, but for some reason, its full power can't be extended. Simon, surprised to see it was really Astrafe, thought about how Astrafe was the main weapon used by Alexander, the Lightning Emperor. Even after losing his affiliation, Alexander, the Lightning Emperor, remained a strong high-ranker. Moreover, he used a spear with power that could rival the lightning attribute magic of a Grand Mage ranker. Simon couldn't believe he made such a weapon, but just by equipping it, it destroyed everything around it, so it's really shabby compared to the real Astrafe. In the end, it's a counterfeit item according to its grade. Simon thought that right now Zeus is only showing interest, but he hasn't made any proposals for sponsorship yet, though there's nothing odd about that. He paused for a moment and thought, come to think of it, the system definitely didn't say that production was impossible. It only said, there's not enough affinity to achieve the desired results. So if I could meet the requirements of affinity, could I actually make the original Astrafe? Simon grinned. It's so surprising that his magic was restored and he went back 11 years into the past, and now, with the equivalent exchange, he deemed it possible to fuse with even mythical weapons. Indeed, alchemy is a really crazy ability. To his surprise, the spear started fading away and disappeared. He thought it was a rebound of transmutation. So now his achievement points were gone. He was really disappointed and felt like crying since he gave 500 achievement points for the spear. For a mere level 1 like him, 500 points is really extravagant. But he calmed down since the spear really had crazy power. Though he felt empty and angry, blowing away those 500 achievement points, he got a message from the system, informing him that the Philosopher's Stone minimizes the rebound, so he'll receive 50 achievement points back. In proportion to the grade and level of the Philosopher's Stone, Simon was surprised the Philosopher's Stone was giving him back the points for the transmutation. He activated his status window and clicked the possessed trait. The Philosopher's Stone is currently at level 1, grade F. He was surprised to see it's different from the initial status window since there was clearly no level, and the grade was only a question mark, with nothing else. So he wondered if it's because of the attribution and regression. He then decided to ask the Philosopher's Stone 2 things. If this was a change that happened due to the attribution, and if the Philosopher's Stone's growth was influenced by him. The Philosopher's Stone reacted. Sometime later, Simon said to himself while tidying the room that magic players cast spells. Even for alchemy, materials for transmutations and magic circles are essential right now. As he tidied the room, he didn't know it would be this efficient to draw a magic circle without a draft. He was happy since it's on a whole different level from the affinity connection. It is an innovation in alchemy, or rather, in the magic world. Just like that, he completely restored the room to its peak condition. Thanks to the Philosopher's Stone, he's able to practice a new method, and with his current level of alchemy, he deemed the tutorial would be easy. It would be starting at 5 p.m. today, he thought, as he looked at the clock. He can't forget today, January 17, 2030, at 5 p.m. It is a tutorial to help him become recognized as a true arena player, and it's the day you receive the first summons. He deemed it so ironic. He wondered, why did I return to the day of the tutorial summoning? He thought, the event back then was a conquest battle. I was so weak back then I couldn't even set foot in the occupied zone before my head got pierced by an arrow. But now he's not scared anymore because he has alchemy. He picked up his phone, recalling that he got a message earlier. It was a message from his brother, and Yujong. Simon felt a bit embarrassed seeing the message since he was Siyuk's big brother in name only. Simon smiled slightly as he read the message. His brother was happy that he got into the academy. He got a diamond rank and gained one more trait. Now he had 3. But he didn't know how to use them yet. Another message asked Simon if he went to see the sunrise, noting that being a senior is hard, with no time to go anywhere. The messages were so many, more than 100. His brother used to be the brightest guy, Simon thought. He didn't know it back then, how much his insides were rotting away. Now, after the regression, he knows the target of the Galaxy Arena is his little brother, and he can change it all from now on. But before that, it's important to improve their brotherly relationship first. He shyly wondered what he should send since he had nothing to say. After he finished sending a short text, he was surprised to see the message from Yuzhong, remembering that the person is also alive. His hand shook, and he then sat down, worried. But he decided to calm down first, since the tragic events of the past haven't happened yet, and he can change it. No, it must be changed, he said. He then got a message congratulating him for being selected for the arena tutorial, so he should please prepare himself. He'd be summoned to the tutorial shortly. 9 minutes and 59 seconds until summoning, and if he had an arena access device, he must equip and use it. Seeing the message, Simon made up his mind that this time, the miserable life of the man without magic, and all the misfortune that happens in the future, he'll change all of that now and apply for early admission. The tutorial welcomed all players. Today's tutorial game mode is Domination, and the number of participants is 100. Simon had already joined. He realized that it was the same jungle map as back then, and now he truly believed he had returned to the past. The system instructed them to earn points by occupying zones or eliminating other players, and so the tutorial began. It had been a while since Simon last participated in an arena, so for now, he decided to play it safe and aim for the top ranks. However, that was no longer possible. He received a message stating that the constellation Zeus's gaze on him had grown more intense. He was surprised to see this. What's more, the constellation Zeus had issued him a mission. The mission window activated, and a support window also appeared. Simon was shocked to see a mission because missions and supports usually unlocked only after completing the tutorial. He wondered why they were active now. The mission was a challenge from Zeus, instructing Simon to achieve first place in the domination tutorial. The reward was 1,000 achievement points. Simon thought, as expected of the ruler of Olympus, not settling for anything less than first place. Still, 1,000 achievement points for just a tutorial is big, so I must complete this mission by getting first place. But he looked up and jokingly said to Zeus, if you could just add 100 more points for the fun of it. Zeus gave Simon a death stare before he could finish his sentence. Simon walked away, muttering that Zeus was stingy for someone claiming to be the ruler of Olympus. In another scene, there was an ongoing hunt. A man was killed with an arrow pierced through his neck. The killer laughed, saying, an easy kill is always sweet. As expected of the big leagues, even their consumable items are on a whole different level, he remarked. The killer was Kim Min-young, a member of the Holy Trinity Guild. The guild had only told him to survive and come back, but he deemed that insufficient. He was furious that they had kicked him out of the academy, and there was no way he'd stay as a mere guild member. Determined, he decided to make them regret discarding a talent like him. At the same time, while the wind danced, Simon was walking through a forest path and arrived at the place he was looking for. Found it, he commented. The stream brought back memories. Min-young, perched atop a tree waiting for prey, spotted Simon. He was delighted to see him and decided to take him down. Believing Simon to be an unarmed contestant with no gear and probably weak traits, he happily thanked Simon for the free kill and shot an arrow imbued with his energy. However, before the arrow could hit Simon, he flicked his finger, using water to destroy the arrow. Simon had specifically come here for this guy, as Min-young was the one who had one-shot him in his previous life. He attacked the tree Min-young was on, but Min-young escaped before the attack could land, falling to the ground. He immediately regained his balance, though he never expected there to be a mage. Still, he picked up his bow, unafraid, as the mage seemed to have no gear. To his surprise, he was countered before he could shoot the arrow. Multiple attacks were launched at him, but he survived. Simon complimented Min-young's good movement, noting that Min-young had aimed directly for his head, but still survived. Well, at least it feels satisfying to lose to someone like this, Simon remarked. Min-young angrily called Simon a bastard and asked him what the hell he was blabbering about before charging at Simon. He drew his twin daggers and parried Simon's attack, but Simon asked him if his trait was a B-rank trait, quick reflexes. Min-young was shocked and demanded to know how Simon knew about his trait. Simon grinned and pierced Min-young's chest with a sandthorn he had cast. Min-young coughed up blood and, in a shaky tone, asked Simon if he was from the Awakener Academy. Simon approached him and replied, "There's no way a place like that would accept me." He then killed Min-young. Simon sat down and remarked that, judging by Min-young's expensive gear, he must have been a rookie from a well-known guild. He's probably using a high-quality virtual reality equivalent, so the shock in real life won't be much. But he'd be dead for real if this was an official arena match. Simon thought. Reflecting further, Simon realized he had joined without even using virtual equipment. In an official arena, losing wasn't just a defeat, it meant actual death in the real world, not just a logout. And that wasn't the worst of it. If an arena wasn't cleared, it triggered an outbreak in the affiliated country. In dungeons or raids, any monsters not defeated would be unleashed upon the earth. That was why the number of rankers in official arenas became a measure of national power. Unfortunately, after that incident, Korea failed to stop its outbreak and followed the path of other smaller nations into ruin. But that hadn't happened yet. So Simon decided to focus on the present. He then decided to check the tutorial rankings. First place was Kang Hoyoung with 2 kills and 4% domination points. Second place was Lee Seon with 1 kill and 4% domination points. Seeing this, Simon wondered why the kill counts were so low, considering it had been a while since the tutorial started. He deduced that everyone must be camping, which was the best explanation for the low kills. He thought, even though this is a tutorial, the matchmaking MMR landed us in a gold-level domination mode. That means the participants here are high-level even for beginners, with strong traits, stats, and equipment. The more you have to lose, the more cautious you get. Simon checked other rankings and saw that someone had already entered the capture zone. If their domination points were only 4%, they hadn't been there long. To win this mode, capturing zones was more important than kills. For now, Simon decided to use this time to get more familiar with his crafting skills and rack up a few more kills. Now it's time to sweep all the campers, he declared. Hours later, a guy was running at full speed, breathing heavily, saying the guy pursuing him was insane, but he was killed by a sandthorn from Simon. Simon remarked that the guy's speed was unreal. Even with full plate armor, he was still that fast. He wondered if the guy had some kind of speed-related trait. If the guy hadn't attacked first, Simon wouldn't have even noticed him. Someone then sneaked up behind him with a dagger and charged to attack Simon. But Simon saw the guy in time and swiftly took him down with his no-chanting spell. He was pissed at those hyenas for always looking for cheap kills. He was surprised to see a message from the system informing him that repeated crafting had increased his crafting ability, and the Philosopher's Stone level had increased. He was surprised to see a stat increase, but deemed it normal at lower levels, though he hadn't expected the Philosopher's Stone to level up. It was a good thing he practiced by hunting down those who camped out. With this kill, he was at 11 kills now. No more getting backstabbed, he thought. He then decided it was time to move in since the occupied territory was just ahead. As he walked along the path, he suddenly saw something and swiftly ran to hide behind a tree. He was surprised to see many dead bodies, and this place wasn't even the occupied territory. He decided to check the arena board. The first position was Kang Hoyoung with 7 kills and 60% domination points. The second was Lee Seon with 5 kills and 60% domination points. The third position was Park Hokshol with 5 kills and 59% domination points. The fourth position was Kim Jaewon with 3 kills and 59% domination points. Meanwhile, Kim Si-moon had 11 kills. Si-moon was surprised to see that the domination points were nearly the same from first to fourth, plus all 4 of them were in the rankings from the early tutorial. That meant they had been in the rankings since the start. That was when Simon realized they were teaming, which was a blatant rule violation. He was disappointed in them for teaming up in tutorial mode. Even if they wanted to be in the rankings, it was bad. He then wondered where they were. When he saw them, he realized they had set up camp inside the occupied territory. Tankers were in front, archers in the back, and 2 sword-wielding warriors on both sides. It was a perfect setup, and it would be hard for players to sneak up on them. Simon was trying to save the mission rewards, but he decided to use them since he had no choice. If the 4 of them were going to pull such disgusting tricks, then he had no choice but to play dirty too. The archer, Lee Seon, scanned through the area. The tank asked if she saw anything. She replied, "No, no one is coming." The tank sarcastically asked her if she was running out of aura and getting sluggish, but someone corrected him and told him that clairvoyance didn't use aura, it used mana. "Oh, really?" the tank remarked. "It must be nice being able to rack up kills with mana to spare." She then asked the tank why he was complaining to her about his kill count. He replied, "Honestly, it's annoying. Everyone else is getting 5 kills or more except me." She found his complaint hilarious since no one told him to play a tanker role. Her words really pissed him off, so they started arguing, but someone told them to stop. The guy then told the tank that since he had over 60% domination points now, he would allow him to handle the kills from now on. Hearing this, the tank immediately became happy. Seon then asked the guy if they could leave the occupied territory soon because most of the participants were gone, and it was just frustrating sitting there. The guy was speechless for a moment, prompting Seon to ask if he was worried about Kim Si-moon. She told him not to worry. She knew all the rookies in the guild, and she couldn't find any mention of Kim Si-moon. The guy told her, "That's exactly why it's a problem. A guy we've never heard of has 11 kills." But she told him they didn't need to worry if that was the case, since the ones they were matched against were all trash. That Kim Si-moon guy must have just been killing people like a hyena. Otherwise, he would have come to the occupied territory sooner if he was really that good. She told him not to stress, and suggested they maintain formation and scout the area since they had trained hard after all. The guy agreed. Just like Sion said, after the 4 of them were eliminated in the last tutorial, they trained while grinding their teeth. Thanks to that, their guild, Jongal Guild, even supported them with equipment. As a result, they were in first place. The girl told him to have some confidence. We're a team, and then there's a guy no one's even heard of. She immediately went silent when she noticed something. She used her clairvoyance skill to scan the area and detected Simon. She alerted her team, drew her bow, and shot an arrow at Simon's location, but before the arrow could reach him, it was broken by Simon's sand thorn spell. This surprised the girl. Not just her, the others were surprised to see him use magic. They worriedly asked if he was from the magic class. With a slight grin, Simon remarked, "I tried to hide, but your B-rank clairvoyance trait detected me." Not bad. The girl was surprised and questioned, "How did you figure out which skill I'm using?" He replied, "It's because I've studied traits quite a bit." "Is that so?" She questioned. She decided to shoot another arrow to show Simon what he didn't know, but their leader told her to wait. He moved forward with his intimidating aura and tone, then asked our protagonist, "Are you Kim Simon?" Kim Shimun smiles and asks the man about himself. The man replies that his name is Kang Hoyoung. Shimun comments that Kang being in first place must mean he's the leader, to which Hoyoung replies, "That's right." He then extends his hand toward Shimun, stating that he won't waste words, and directly invites him to join their team. Lee Sayan looks at him in shock and asks if he's out of his mind. Another team member questions how Kang can trust Shimun not to betray them. Kang calmly explains that Shimun managed 11 kills without special equipment, suggesting he has an S rank or higher magic trait. Kang then turns back to Shimun, saying he'll make him first place. Sayon grabs Kang angrily, arguing that he can't be serious. Shimun is a magic user, and if he betrays them, they're all as good as dead. However, Kang dismisses her concerns, reasoning that the benefits outweigh the risks of teaming up with such a strong magic user. He pushes her hand away, adding that magic users are rare, even in their Jongal Guild, and that achieving 11 kills is absurd without scavenging. He then looks at her firmly and asks her to focus on the long-term benefits. If they form ties with a magic user like Shimun, their position within the guild will skyrocket. Shimun chuckles, remarking that they're hilarious for assuming he would accept their offer. Kang, surprised, asks him what he means. Shimun responds that Kang's tone makes it seem like he naturally agreed to join them. Kang, frustrated, apologizes if that's a problem. Shimun indifferently replies that while he's familiar with the arrogance of magic users, he isn't like that. Smirking, he adds, "That's not the issue." Kang, confused, asks what the problem is. Shimun bluntly states that teaming up is the issue. Kang, now shocked, asks what's wrong with teaming. Shimun explains that teaming is a blatant rule violation. If this tutorial were being broadcast, Kang would be getting roasted right now. Kang shrugs, saying he doesn't care about public opinion since there's no punishment anyway. Shimun smirks and notes that Kang seems to be from a fairly reputable guild, so how does he plan to handle this? He presses Kang, asking if he's confident about the decision. The other team members glare at Shimun, while Kang, now fired up, retorts that catching a few bugs has inflated Shimun's ego. He raises his hand and declares that the Jongal Guild only cares about efficiency. As long as results are good, nothing else matters. Kang then points at Shimun, advising him to join their team, saying it's his last chance. Shimun removes his hood, smiling as he counters, "No, this is your last chance." He declares there's no point in continuing the conversation and points at Kang, telling him to worry about himself. Suddenly, lightning gathers around Shimun's finger, throwing the group into a panic. Kang stares at Shimun, while Jaewon shields himself, unable to comprehend what's happening. Shimun remarks that first place is already his, so he sees no reason to tarnish himself with a rule-breaking team. Holding a massive magical spear, he prepares to fight. Kang glares at him, stating that negotiations have failed. He draws his sword and shouts for Sion. She quickly notches an arrow, replying, "I got him." She releases the arrow, sending it flying toward Shimun. Shimun points his spear at the arrow and mutters a spell. The clash between the two releases a tremendous wave of energy. The team is thrown to the ground by the magical shockwave, electricity surging through their bodies. Shimun smirks at his spear, remarking that it's only at 10% power. However, something feels off. He turns and sees Kang charging at him with his sword. Amused, Shimun acknowledges Kang's survival but raises his spear to release another current. To his surprise, the lightning has no effect. Kang smirks, revealing his A-rank trait, Shadow Movement, which might also explain how he dodged Astrape's lightning earlier. Before Shimun can react, he senses someone behind him. It's Kang, raising his sword for a final strike. He shouts, "Die!" Just before the attack lands, Shimun snaps his fingers. Kang suddenly stops, blood pouring from a wound in his stomach. Trembling, Kang demands to know how Shimun still has mana after using such powerful magic. Shimun smiles and explains, "This is something a little different." Kang grits his teeth in frustration. Shimun dismisses him, saying it's a waste of time to stay. Suddenly, the sky lights up, and the system announces that Shimun has achieved 100% of the capture points. The owner of the captured area is determined, and the tutorial ends. Shimun smiles as it's over. The system further announces that Kim Shimun is in first place, followed by Jung Seon in second. Shimun has won the title ruler of the tutorial, and earned 100 achievement points. He completes the mission assigned by the constellation Zeus and gains 1,000 additional points. Shimun is slightly disappointed, noting he could have earned all 1,000 points had he not used Astrape's magic. The mini-system notifies him that the constellation is pleased with his performance and grants an extra 100 points. Shimun is shocked to find his total points amount to 750, with the arena clear rewards waiting for him in the real world. Smiling, he realizes he's gained a lot from this tutorial, and eagerly anticipates what's next. The system then prompts him to return to his original location. The scene shifts to the Seoul Special City Jonggol Guild headquarters building, where the master of the guild, while reviewing a report, calls Kang Hoyoung. As Hoyoung responds to him, the master angrily scatters the pages in his hand, asking if the report makes any sense to him. His eyes blaze with anger as he shouts that Hoyoung wasn't up against a hyena, nor did he run into another teamer, yet he still lost in a head-on battle against some random guy who didn't even have equipment. Crushing his cigarette into the ashtray in frustration, he fumes as Kang Hoyoung admits that he has no excuse. Suddenly, the master turns around, his mind racing with fury, and remarks that while he doesn't criticize losses due to lack of skill, because no amount of money can fix that, he cannot forgive someone for losing even after teaming up. He walks toward Hoyoung and slaps him hard, questioning how such a loss could even happen, especially with a team. The other members are standing stiffly, their faces pale, afraid to even breathe as the master continues to shout at them. He yells that teaming is an act that tarnishes their reputation and demands to know if they understand what it means. His voice rises, his ears practically steaming with rage as he fights the urge to lash out further. Kang Hoyoung quickly apologizes, attempting to diffuse the tension. Without warning, the master throws an invoice at Hoyoung. As Hoyoung picks it up and reads it, his expression shifts to shock. The master explains that the invoice was prepared for players like him, those who, despite the guild's full support, failed to clear the tutorial and managed to tarnish the guild's name in the process. He states coldly that for the next 10 years, all of Hoyoung's rewards will be transferred to the guild. With a glare, the master demands that Hoyoung sign it. When one of the men hesitantly raises his hand and points out that the contract seems overly harsh, he suddenly finds himself gasping for air as the master grips his throat. Smirking, the master remarks that foolishness always invites suffering and asks if he has a death wish. The man quickly apologizes as the other members look on in shock. Kang Hoyoung urges them to sign quickly, trying to avoid further escalation. The scene then shifts to the Seoul Special City Seongsam Guild headquarters. Manager Park Minchol sits in his office reviewing a report and exclaims in disbelief. 3 players stand before him as he says, "I don't blame you, but it's hard to wrap my head around this." One of the players, a man with brown hair, adds, "Same here. The idea that someone unleashed magic without casting is shocking enough, but the fact that they racked up 15 kills? That's insane." Another player with blonde hair chimes in, "And they did it alone. They completely wiped out 4 top-ranked teamers." The third player with black hair nods and says, "That's right, I had the arena board open and saw it happen in real time." Manager Park adjusts his glasses and nods. "Understood. I'll handle the details through the report. For now, you're dismissed." The players seem momentarily stunned by his calm response. He reassures them. Seongsam Guild doesn't penalize players for failing the tutorial. Relieved, the players smile. When Park encourages them to do better next time, they bow respectfully, promising to improve before leaving, laughing as they go. Once they leave, Park looks back at the report. "One person managed to take down an entire team of 4, he mutters to himself. Turning to his assistant, Yeonhee, he asks, "Did you find anything yet?" Yeonhee replies, "We're still working on it." Park smirks and jokes, "I should start calling you Assistant Manager Woo." Yeonhee laughs, throwing the report toward him. "Don't even think about it," she teases. She points out that the Jonggol Guild was caught teaming again. This time, the team had 3 players with B-rank traits and 1 with an A-rank trait. Park's expression darkens. How does a guild notorious for poor sportsmanship attract such talent? He wonders aloud. But the real question is, how did one person manage to defeat members of such caliber? Yeonhee speculates that the opponent's high firepower as a magic user might explain the loss. Park shakes his head, saying, "At level 1, even a magic user's firepower shouldn't be enough to pull that off. Even if they had a strong trait, there's a limit to what they can do." Snapping her fingers, Yeonhee says, "The report mentions that the player triggered magic with just a snap of their fingers. Could it be an S-rank trait?" Park considers it but remains skeptical. No matter how good the trade is, there's more to this case. It's too unprecedented. Yeonhee's eyes widen as she guesses, could it be a constellation? Park nods thoughtfully. That would explain it. A wildcard like that could make sense. Yeonhee counters, a constellation? For a level 1 player? That's impossible. Since the Galaxy Arena emerged in 2015, constellations have only appeared for diamond rank and above. Park concedes that she might be right, but suggests the player could be an irregular or backed by something else. Either way, we need to recruit him immediately. Yeonhee warns, other guilds won't sit still on this. Park chuckles. That means you'll have to work harder, he teases. Suddenly, a golden light fills the room, and a leg steps out of it. A playful voice chimes. Even if it's just the two of you here, you can relax and call me miss. Smiling, a woman emerges from the light and asks Park how he noticed her, as she was using an AA rank stealth artifact. Park replies, I didn't notice at first, but when player Kim Shimun was mentioned, I sensed your presence. The woman sits on his desk, shrugging. I was just bored. The academy doesn't mean much to me anyway. Park sighs. If you're so bored, why not join the arena instead of sneaking around? She pouts. Didn't you watch my last match? I streamed it. Park apologizes. Sorry, I was busy with an urgent report. She waves it off and picks up the report on his desk. Is this the one that surprised you? Panicking, Park shouts, that's classified guild information. She smirks. What's the big deal? I own the guild, remember? As he tries to snatch the report from her hands, her eyes widen as she notices Kim Shimun's name and freezes. Another scene. The system teleported Seaman back to his house. He immediately jumped onto his bed, sighing in relief that it was finally over. The system notified him that he had obtained additional experience points as a reward for placing first in the tutorial. Additionally, the bound trade item, the Philosopher's Stone, had absorbed a portion of the experience points. As a result, his level increased by 2, while the Philosopher's Stone's level increased by 1. Shimun stared at the system in shock, unable to comprehend the distribution. Based on his calculations, he could have reached level 3 without the Philosopher's Stone. Opening the status window, he noticed that his strength, agility, and stamina were still lagging compared to his alchemy power. He smiled to himself, thinking that the disparity was actually a good thing. Clenching his fist, Shimun thought about how having a lower level while the Philosopher's Stone continued to grow stronger would give him a significant advantage in the arena. It was a simple concept. Arenas where players of similar levels competed usually placed everyone at level 3. But what if he secretly hid his additional level? This would make his stats superior to others, enabling him to dominate matches. Moreover, winning games could help him change his title. Shimun considered this important, as even Malsuk had struggled to grow her title. He opened the system to check for new titles, and discovered he had earned the title, Ruler of the Tutorial. He was initially disappointed, hoping for better options, but wasn't overly disheartened. Titles, after all, were undervalued even in his past life. That said, he found it intriguing to receive a growth-type title so early, so he didn't see it as a loss. The system then informed Shimun that collecting more titles would increase the level of the achievement shop. This revelation shocked him, as the achievement shop typically unlocked only at gold rank or higher. Collecting titles was essential to purchase stats there. With 2 remaining stat points, Shimun debated how to allocate them. He considered investing everything into transmutation power, as the Philosopher's Stone was incredibly overpowered. However, it didn't solve the fundamental law of equivalent exchange in alchemy. Reflecting on how he had already spent 1,000,000 points, he wondered what harm another 500 points could do. To overcome these limitations, higher transmutation power was essential. Even so, Shimun realized he couldn't completely ignore physical stats in favor of transmutation power. Among high-rank magicians, physical abilities sometimes made the difference. He decided to raise his physical stats to the awakening average of 5 before allocating the rest. Opening the system to distribute his stats, he suddenly paused. Placing his hand over his heart, he summoned the Philosopher's Stone, intending to ask it a question. Shimun asked if, as long as equivalent exchange was possible, he could transmute anything. The Philosopher's Stone responded, but when Shimun pressed further, asking if human transmutation was possible, it remained silent. Stunned, Shimun guessed that the silence was understandable. Human transmutation was considered taboo in alchemy. He knew that chimeras, the most notable result of human transmutation, sometimes appeared as monsters in the arena. However, Shimun believed such practices could be used for beneficial purposes, much like how science advanced on 21st century Earth. The Philosopher's Stone said something that made Shimun pause. He questioned whether he was truly planning to use it for good, and admitted that his primary intention was to grow stronger. However, he conceded that in a dire situation, he couldn't make any promises. Clenching his fist, Shimun resolved himself. He had a goal to achieve no matter the cost. The Philosopher's Stone spoke again, causing Shimun to touch his chest. It warned him of the dangers of human transmutation, but Shimun was confused by its tone. The stone mentioned something about being an item that opposed the Emerald Tablet. Shimun was taken aback, asking if the Philosopher's Stone implied the existence of another item, similar to the Emerald Tablet, that contained opposing knowledge. When the Philosopher's Stone confirmed this, Shimun acknowledged it wasn't so strange, as the Emerald Tablet didn't contain anything related to human transmutation. He recalled undergoing a qualifying test when he first obtained the Emerald Tablet. It had acknowledged him as its owner, binding itself to him. This binding nature made the item unusable by anyone else, deterring theft by burning anyone unqualified for ownership, potentially killing them. Reflecting on this, Shimun shivered, realizing that if he hadn't qualified, he would have burned to ashes. He asked the Philosopher's Stone if it was concerned he might not qualify for this new transmutation item. When the Philosopher's Stone replied in the negative, Shimun grew determined. Clenching the bedsheet in frustration, he decided to pursue the item anyway. Suddenly, the Philosopher's Stone mentioned something else, shocking Shimun. He asked if it was possible to partially block the penalty for not meeting the qualifications, ensuring he could at least avoid death. The Philosopher's Stone responded, and Shimun stood up, resolute. As an official player, he believed that as long as he didn't die, he could recover one way or another. He decided to invest all his remaining stat points into alchemy power. Opening the system, Shimun asked the Philosopher's Stone for a rough image of the transmutation material. The Philosopher's Stone provided one, and Shimun thought it resembled the Emerald Tablet but with a different color. Closing his eyes, he visualized it, dark purple instead of light green, and imagined it functioning like a modern smartphone screen for easy browsing and knowledge acquisition. Snapping his fingers, Shimun received a notification from the system stating that his alchemy power was insufficient to achieve the requested transmutation. He smiled, expecting this outcome. The system then informed him that completing the transmutation would require 10,000 achievement points to establish an equivalent exchange. Shocked, Shimun hadn't anticipated such a steep cost. The Philosopher's Stone interjected, and Shimun, astonished, asked if the amount was considered cheap. Comparing it to Astrophes, which cost only 500 points, he realized this was on another level. Disappointed, Shimun sighed. He had worked hard to save up 12,300 points, and now had to lose a significant chunk. But he resigned himself, thinking, no risk, no reward. The system deducted 10,000 achievement points. Suddenly, waves of light emanated from his hand. Shimun's eyes widened. This energy felt both familiar and strange. Raising his hand, he snapped his fingers again, watching the energy swirl around him. For a moment, he was left utterly confused. Shimun is confusingly observing the power around him when suddenly something grabs his arm. He thinks, what is this? And as he feels it moving around and increasing, he wonders if it's alive. The system informs him that he has created an unregistered mythical artifact, earned 5,000 achievement points, and the option for the title Pioneer of Alchemy has improved, with a new option added to the title. He looks at the system with shock, thinking if the title has been improved. He even looks at the system again, finding out about a 5% reduction in synthesis energy. This means not only does the percentage efficiency increase as the level gets higher, but as a title grows, the reduction will also increase over time. In conclusion, the option to reduce synthesis energy consumption is. He smiles and then sighs, thinking, no wonder Malsuk mentioned a growth-type title, a blatantly overpowered option. The system further informs him that the constellation Black Goat is wide-eyed at the trace left on him, and he has attracted the attention of an unregistered constellation, the Black Goat in the Galaxy Arena. Due to the series of unbelievable achievements, the Galaxy Arena is now discussing player Kim Shimun. Shimun looks at the book-like creature in his hand, wondering what it is. It is called the Obsidian Tablet, currently a 20% counterfeit grade. It's a collection of human transmutation knowledge. It contains information about human transmutation and other subjects, but for some reason, it cannot fully exert its power. Shimun was pissed. He had gotten another replica. He even spent 10,000 achievement points, and it's only 20% complete. Even Astrophe only cost 500 points for 10% completion. He banged his hand on his head, disappointed, but then he paused. He realized that if that's the case, it means there's no rebound for the affinity. The Philosopher's Stone tells him something. He removes a finger from his eyes, thinking if it's really rebound-free, then that means it's permanent. Assuming achievement points increase by 20% per 10,000 points, just 4 more times with 40,000 achievement points means he could own a mythical grade item. His eyes shine with excitement as he smirks, thinking, this is insane. He chuckles with happiness. When the Philosopher's Stone says something to him, he is stunned and puts his hand on his heart, asking the Philosopher's Stone not to worry, as he has prepared for the penalties that might occur if he isn't qualified. He then opens his phone, noticing 5 missed calls, thinking that, with a single touch, he can contact his siblings. Besides, he's used to pain. For someone like him, an arena disease patient, intense, unbearable pain has been a lifelong companion. Thinking further, if his guess is correct, there won't be any penalties at all. He raises the book upward, looking with a smile on his face. The book opens in front of him, and suddenly the same thing continues to grab his arm. He smiles, thinking that, as expected, he didn't feel any pain or pressure. As the original owner, the constellation Black Goat seems to have a deep interest in him, so there's no way this divine relic will harm him. The system shows up, stating that the obsidian tablet is requesting fusion with the Philosopher's Stone. His eyes pop out as he cannot understand what it is, when suddenly the obsidian tablet covers his entire body. Now he cannot control the pain, and he is trembling in agony. Suddenly the Philosopher's reacted. He looks around in shock as the system informs him that the Philosopher's Stone has accepted the obsidian tablet's request. Shimun is freaking out, unable to understand what is happening, when suddenly the obsidian tablet throws him to the ground. He's freaking out as the tentacles spread all over his body. He is so shocked that couldn't believe that such a thing is happening to him. He shouts in pain so loudly that even the neighbors can hear him. He shouts at the obsidian book to stop, saying he can't take it anymore. Then the system appears, showing that the obsidian tablet has successfully fused with the Philosopher's Stone. A small change occurs in the Philosopher's Stone, and a new option is added. The rank of the Philosopher's Stone increases. Shimun is lying on the floor, almost dead. Hours later, the system welcomes everyone to the Galaxy Arena, it informing them that today's arena event is defense. The number of participants is 50%, and the condition cooperation has been added. The participants will be organized into teams of 5, and once all participants assemble, the arena will begin. Kim Min-young looks at his system with shock, mentioning that he just finished the tutorial and it's already a defense event. This is going to be tough for him, and on top of that, there's a cooperation condition. It's probably still in the placement test phase, so who would have thought a silver-ranked event would match here? Further thinking, it must be because of that monster of a guy who eliminated him so quickly. But in a way, this is an opportunity. He might get another chance to secure that promising talent he missed last time, and now he is determined. Suddenly, he hears something from behind and looks at 3 strange-looking guys who are disappointed, wondering why it's offense and not defense. When one of them smiles, mentioning that it's probably because his MMR is high, he asks the others if he ranked during the tutorial. A guy with blonde hair tells him it's his fault, and that this is going to be difficult, while the guy with black hair replies, saying he shouldn't worry, as he will carry hard again this time. Kim Min-young is freaking out as he recognizes that emblem, and realizes these are the Scorpion Guild bastards. Thinking no matter the rank of the arena, there were always famous trolls or trash players, but the Scorpion Guild was in a league of its own. First, they formed a large, undeniable force. Second, their bad manners were accompanied by peculiar philosophy and logic. They claimed it was meticulous pragmatism for victory, but in reality, they were just pawns indulging in every form of bad behavior. He sighs in disappointment, thinking, there goes my shot at being a promising rookie. As they walk toward him, they mention that they heard it's a 5-man team, but it's just this guy, smiling and laughing, guessing the rest haven't matched yet. They wonder how amazing the guy the system might be pairing them with is. Kim Min-young thinks they are still as cocky as ever. The guy noticed the Sungsam Guild emblem on Min-young. He never expected Min-young to be from the Sungsam Guild. They call their leader, Choi Jiol, asking if that's for real. Jiol walks toward him, asking him what his name is. Kim Min-young looks at him with anger and replies that he is Kim Min-young. Jiol runs through his mind and replies that, looking at his face, he's never heard of him before. He then stares at him, asking if he's just a newbie who barely cleared the tutorial, as no matter how bad the situation is, Sung Sam would not give a guild member anything lower than C-rank gear. Kim Min-young is trembling in fear when Jiol further mentions that he heard big corporations love to flex, so if he scored well in the tutorial, they'd even give him a rank A equipment, but it looks like he doesn't even rank. Kim Min-young clenches his fist in anger, thinking he has to hold on. As much as he wants to kill these 3 right now, they're still stronger than him, so he calms himself down, realizing if he fights now, he'll just lose. When Jiol holds his shoulder, assuring him he'll make sure he clears this properly, he tells him to just do exactly what he's told. Kim Min-young is still trembling in anger, thinking they were going to take all the rewards for themselves. He angrily lashed out internally, calling them bastards. Suddenly, blue energy appears from behind. As they turn around to look at it, Kim Min-young's eyes pop out as he sees the guy he lost to in the tutorial. He is shocked, wondering why he's here. When Jiol chuckles, mentioning that it's bad, he states that arena matching really is something, as the Sung Sam guy is one thing, but they even threw in a leech with no gear. Shimun smirks as they call him a leech, then asks them if they were talking about him. With an evil grin, Kyo pointed his mace at Simon. Who the fuck would I be talking to? He commented. Did you just swear at me? Simon questioned. Simon laughed, but suddenly the Philosopher's Stone reacted. It was angry at those little shits for insulting it, calling them ugly bastards who looked like they got scraped across asphalt. Simon held his head in disappointment, as the Philosopher's Stone continued shouting, saying they should hold up their hands now. It swore it would rip their hideous faces to shreds and fry them up. Simon rubbed his chest to calm himself, but he grinned worriedly because, even though he rubbed his chest to relax, he had no idea why his stomach felt like it was on fire. Well, It was because of the stone. As Seaman rubbed his chest, the stone reacted like it was horny, saying, "If Seaman touches me gently like that, what am I supposed to do? Awesome touch, love it so much. Ah, more, touch me more." Seaman thought that if he had known this change would happen to the stone, he would have stopped the obsidian tablet fusion no matter what, as it had caused the stone to undergo a slight change. Keel asked his team, "What the hell is Seaman doing?" One of the guys laughed, saying, "I don't know, maybe we scared him too much." "Hey, you freeloading bastard, you scared?" Keel questioned. The gold-haired guy told Keel, "There's nothing to ask, Seaman is definitely terrified." Another guy mocked Simon's gear, saying, "He's probably some guildless nobody." Keel laughed and remarked, "Looks like Seaman has been freeloading rides with soft-hearted suckers until now. But me, Choi Keel, I'm different. I'm no pushover." Seaman questioned if they were insulting him because of his gear. He sighed. "If it's about my gear, then that's a misunderstanding," he remarked. Keel angrily slammed his mace to the ground. "Only an idiot would believe it's a misunderstanding. Who are you trying to fool?" Seaman grinned slightly. "Did you say your name was Choi Keel? Interesting." He told him that in this rank, it's common for mages or support types not to have gear. "It looks like you've been hanging around the arena for a while," Simon added. He paused, seeing the emblem on Keel's shoulder. "Are you from the Jungle Guild?" he asked. Keel grinned, thinking Seaman was now dropping the polite act after seeing his guild emblem. But Seaman told him, "I don't waste respect on things that aren't human." The gold-haired guy angrily called Seaman a punk for daring to insult them. Another added angrily, "How dare a freeloading punk run his mouth like that?" Keel stepped forward, seeing that Seaman was taking them as a joke. He filled his mace with energy to crush Seaman's cocky face, then attacked. Confident, Simon flicked his finger. At that moment, Keel broke out in a sweat and shivered slightly as Seaman held his mace with his energy-filled hand. He couldn't believe his eyes. He was losing in strength to a weakling like Simon. He tried to pull back his mace, but it didn't budge. Seaman remarked with an evil grin, "I thought your high speed meant you had high agility, but it seems like strength is your main stat. Or is it because of your special trait?" Keel couldn't believe that the bastard didn't even flinch. His team became worried, so they jumped out to attack Seaman. But Min Young pierced one's throat from behind. Seeing this, another guy angrily charged at Min Young, but before he could attack, he was pierced from behind by Simon's spell and killed in one strike. Keel was unable to do anything. He couldn't believe that, with an A-grade strength trait focusing on strength and agility stats and at least B-grade equipment, he was being overpowered with just one hand. Furious, he asked Simun, "How are you capable of such strength?" Seeing that he still had the energy to shout, Simun broke his mace in half, shocking Keel. "Now, that's the face I like to see," Simon remarked. Then told him not to feel bad since they were the ones who attacked first. Bang! Simon smashed Keel's face with his own mace, killing him in one strike. This arena was significantly harder than a typical silver rank offense thanks to Simon's high MMR. But that also meant the rewards for clearing it would be just as high. Plus, the fewer the members, the more concentrated the rewards. That's why Keel and his men were nitpicking about Simon's gear and attacking so aggressively. The skill Simon used was called Ogre's Physique, but it only had 15% of an ogre's strength, allowing him to replicate their physical abilities. Simun couldn't believe such strength was only 15%. The Philosopher's Stone told him, "Yes, of course. Aside from the risk of holding such qualifications, imagine if your handsome arm turned into an ogre's. It's disgusting. If the obsidian tablet hadn't offered to maintain your appearance as a condition, I wouldn't have accepted the fusion request." Simon told the stone it was fine. He then looked at Minyoung with a surprised expression. "You must be the last teammate," he said. Minyoung politely replied, "Yes, that's correct." Simon paused. "Have I seen you somewhere before? You seem familiar." Minyoung replied, "Yes, in the tutorial." Simon immediately recalled, "You're the one I fought at the riverbank." Minyoung humbly replied, "Yes," then introduced himself as Kim Minyoung from the Sungsam Guild. "I'm looking forward to working with you," he added. Simon's expression changed upon hearing the words Sungsam Guild, which belonged to Yujong. Minyoung thought he had said something wrong. Simon told him, "No, it's nothing. I just got distracted for a moment." He shook Minyoung's hand, then said they should work well together. Minyoung asked, "Is it just the two of us? This round requires a 5-man team." Simon told him, "Those 3 died after matching, so we won't be getting replacements." The system then announced that all participants had been matched. The arena was beginning, and the time limit was 30 minutes. They were teleported to a forest. Simon told Minyoung, "We should get going since we're already short on numbers compared to the other teams." Minyoung replied, "Yes." Simon then got a message. "The constellation Zeus is observing you." Another message followed. "The constellation Black Goat expresses deep satisfaction with your actions." Simon was surprised. Zeus was still watching him, and now the Black Goat was too. He wondered why. "I'm not even high rank, just doing placement matches. Why are 2 constellations interested in me?" Constellations didn't usually observe players they sponsor. Another message appeared, informing them their target area was an occupied goblin stronghold. They needed to clear the area by any means within 30 minutes. Simun was shocked as he realized it was a stronghold of goblins. Strongholds are commonly referred to as checkpoints. These strongholds vary slightly in design and environment depending on the map, but their basic structure is a fortress built atop a bridge. However, there is a problem. Simun asked why there is a checkpoint here, as checkpoint structures only appear in platinum rank or higher. He thought, no, that's not it. To begin with, the trio from the Jungle Guild and Kim Min-young surpassed the level of a placement test. Thinking about it, everyone's skill level is high enough to make the mission a success, so if the matchmaking was fair, only they would get something special like a checkpoint. Instead, the rewards for clearing it will be significant. Well, he deemed it to be good. He grinned. Now that it has come to this, I might as well wipe them all out and take all the kill rewards too. But he remembered he had a partner, so he asked Min-young if he had any desire for kills. Min-young immediately replied shyly, "No, not at all. I just got through the tutorials, so goblins are too much for me. I just hope we can secure the clear rewards safely." Simun felt relieved and told Min-young they should plan a strategy together with the goal of securing the clear rewards safely in mind. He was happy since he could now take all the kills for himself. In the fortress, one of the goblins announced it was time for a skill change and a break. Another commented, saying he was tired of standing guard and that it was boring. A third goblin told him not to talk nonsense, adding, "At least it's better here because the boss is not in a good mood, and those idiots inside will be scolded." Suddenly, Simun appeared above them undetected, then jumped down and killed the two goblins. The skill he used for that jump was Black Panther Physique, currently at 12% completion. Black Panther Physique had been synthesized, so he was now able to replicate a Black Panther's physical abilities, while also using Ogre's physique. Simun didn't expect the sharp-eared goblins to completely fail to notice anything, especially since they were experts at hearing even the slightest sounds. Though multiple organism synthesis is still tough, Simon commented. The Philosopher's Stone told him that pulling off multi-organism synthesis itself was absurd. Min-young politely asked Simun if he really thought the two of them would be able to take down the fortress. Simun assured Min-young, telling him that when he took a quick glance before his sneak attack, their weapons were just rocks and poison needles. "They won't be able to penetrate your armor," he said, then added, "Stick to the plan, and we'll be fine." Min-young replied, "Okay, I understand," and so they walked toward the fortress to carry out their plan. Inside, the goblins were happily eating meat, exclaiming how delicious it was. Another said they hadn't had meat in ages. Suddenly, they detected someone running toward them. It was Min-young. He charged at them with his sword, prompting the goblins to alert the others about a human invader. Though they panicked at first, they smiled upon seeing it was just one human. Confident, they catapulted stones at him. "Is this all you've got, fools?" Min-young taunted. The goblins brought out their poison needles, aiming to stop Min-young from passing. Confident they could take him down since he was trapped, all the goblins charged forward to take down just one human, completely surrounding him. Min-young swung his sword, cutting down goblins in his path. One goblin then pierced him in his waist, in his blind spot of all places. Min-young gritted his teeth and decided to hold out a little longer, just a little more. He taunted them again. "Come at me, bastards," and then shouted for Simun to attack. Simun immediately activated a Strafe, shooting it down at the center of the goblins, taking them all down in one strike. Standing with a Strafe in his hand, he received a message that the Philosopher's Stone minimized the rebound, and the Philosopher's Stone's grade and level restored 50 achievement points previously consumed. Min-young held his waist in surprise. He couldn't believe that Simun had taken them all down in an instant. Simun then activated his status window. He was a bit disappointed that the achievement points he got back after using a Strafe were still the same, even after merging the Philosopher's Stone with the Obsidian Tablet and raising its grade to E. The Philosopher's Stone questioned if Simon really knew what a rebound was. It said, "No synthesis material can interfere with rebounds. It's only because of you that such a thing is even possible. You need to at least hit grade B." Simun then got a message that the constellation Zeus smiled warmly at his efficient use of a Strafe and sponsored him with 100 achievement points. Simun was surprised to see he had been sponsored without a broadcast on. "Considering the Obsidian Tablet's level of completion and all the synthesis I still need to do, this sponsor is great." He thanked Zeus for the sponsorship. A Strafe then vanished from his hand. Too bad, he thought. I could have used it one more time. He realized that even if he burned all the equivalents invested in synthesis, the rebound would still occur. Well, I've learned my lesson. Suddenly, a yellow glow appeared behind them. Seeing this, Min-young told Simun that the target zone had appeared and they should get going. But Simun told him to go ahead. Min-young, surprised, asked if Simun wasn't coming, as the goblins were regrouping. "You saw it earlier, right? I'll be fine," Simun assured him. He told Min-young he would take care of the rest, so he should go ahead. Min-young couldn't argue and told Simun to please make sure to visit the Sungsam Guild next time, as they'd make sure to repay him. He then thanked Simun profusely. Now, facing the frightened goblins, Simun stretched his hand to wrap things up. Out of nowhere, an axe was swung at him, the force intense. smashing the ground to pieces. But Simon was fast enough to dodge the sneak attack. The goblins cheered as their boss arrived, mocking Simon. Simon's face was filled with fear as he looked at the boss. Simon was surprised to see a hobgoblin. He wondered why the hell it was here. He then recalled the message which said the target area was a foothold for corrupted goblins. Now, seeing the hobgoblin, he understood what the system meant by a corrupted goblin foothold. Originally, a hobgoblin is a monster created when superior goblins are influenced by magic. With such magic overflowing in the infiltrated bridgehead, its appearance was inevitable. Still, no matter how high Simon's MMR might be, he deemed the appearance of a hobgoblin to be too much, since it was at least platinum level. He activated Black Panther body tissue. The hobgoblin furiously charged at him with its axe, seeking revenge for its subordinates. Simon dodged the first strike and the second strike that came after. As he dodged, Simon wondered why it was so easy. He realized its overall physical ability was actually lower than a real hobgoblin. He immediately took a step backward. With a grin, he realized the hobgoblin had been nerfed. It seemed the administrator had some conscience after all. He murmured about how disappointing it was that he had to spend achievement points for such a battle. But it was better to make sure just in case. As he was about to summon Asrafi, he received a message informing him that the constellation Black Goat furrows its brow at Zeus's consecutive lightning. Simon was surprised by this message. The constellation Black Goat then pointed to the obsidian tablet Simon was holding and expressed dissatisfaction. While Simon was distracted, the hobgoblin furiously struck at him. The impact was intense, and Simon was pushed backward. Indeed, it's still a hobgoblin even after it's been nerfed, Simon murmured. To Simon's surprise, he received a mission from the constellation Black Goat. The constellation Black Goat felt strong dissatisfaction with Simon, who only used Zeus's lightning. The mission was for Simon to defeat the hobgoblin using human transmutation alone, with a reward of 500 achievement points. The goblin charged at him, launching another strike, which Simon dodged easily. Simon expressed his disbelief, seeing that the constellation Black Goat was offering achievement points for such a mission. Simon realized it must be because of Black Goat's pride, especially since Simon was an alchemist. If that was the case, Simon decided to accept the mission. The constellation Black Goat smiled satisfactorily, but in return, it made Zeus frown and expressed dissatisfaction. The constellation Black Goat threatened Zeus. "You damned pervert. Should I drop by Olympus once again, huh?" Zeus shook his head, thinking, "That crazy bastard is still the same." Zeus then took a step back, putting his hands behind his back. Simon had no idea what the hell was going on between the two. The hobgoblin got angry, seeing that Simon wasn't paying attention to it, but Simon still didn't care. He thought about the mission, which he deemed possible. He charged to confront the hobgoblin, who was charging at him angrily. Simon activated Ogre's body physique and punched the hobgoblin with full force, but the hobgoblin used its shield to block the punch. Though the shield was damaged, the hobgoblin was surprised to see a human with such strength. It then grabbed Simon by the head, confident it had finally won. Even the goblins cheered as they saw their boss had the upper hand, shooting poisoned needles at Simon and piercing his back. The hobgoblin held Simon's head, smirking, thinking it had won, and called humans fragile. It told Simon it was disappointing he fell for such a cheap trick, without even poison resistance. The hobgoblin said it would start by cutting off Simon's limbs one by one. But before the hobgoblin could strike with its axe, Simon grabbed its hand, deactivated the poison needles. Then with Ogre's physique, he cut the hobgoblin's hand in half, making it scream in pain. He then grabbed the hobgoblin by the neck and said, "Goblins are really inferior." Thinking I'd fall for such a trick, he smashed the hobgoblin's neck off from its head. Seeing their leader had fallen, the goblins panicked. Simon got a message about completing the Black Goat constellation's mission, acquiring 500 achievement points. The constellation Black Goat also showed tremendous satisfaction with Simon's utilization of human transmutation, awarding him an additional 500 achievement points. Since he single-handedly defeated the hidden boss, the hobgoblin, he received 500 achievement points as a reward. Simon was surprised to learn it was a hidden boss, realizing it wasn't just meant to be caught. Another message appeared. The Galaxy Arena, which had been discussing Simon, was shocked by his achievement, followed by the constellation Black Goat mocking the administrator, saying, "Damn. Look at the administrator's face. This is why I don't register as a constellation." Simon had no idea why they were discussing him. He thought about there being a similar message when he made the obsidian tablet, wondering if drawing the Galaxy Arena's interest was a good thing. He decided to think positively since the Galaxy Arena certainly provided risks and returns. There was nothing to worry about right now anyway. He then left to receive the rewards. As Simon got teleported back home, he received multiple messages from the system. He received a message informing him that he had successfully cleared the arena, corrupted Goblin Foothold, and defeated all the enemies alone under 5-person cooperation conditions, so the clear rewards increased according to his performance. The Philosopher's Stone also received a certain amount of experience. His level increased by 4, and the Philosopher's Stone level increased by 2. As a reward, he acquired the Hobgoblin's battle axe, and since he successfully defeated the hidden boss alone, he was rewarded with the corrupted Hobgoblin serum. Simon was surprised by these rewards, but that's not all. He achieved the hidden boss achievement, Hidden Boss Hunt, currently 1, and the remaining number of times is unknown. He acquired 1,000 achievement points. Such a reward is extravagant, but it seems it's huge because it's the first boss, he thought. He then activated the status window. He's currently at level 7, his alchemy power is at 13 with a total of 9,000 achievement points. His remaining stats are 4, and the Philosopher's Stone is at E rank. He grinned slightly because he'd soon reach 10,000 achievement points. He asked the Philosopher's Stone if he could transmute the obsidian tablet again with 10,000 achievement points. The stone replied yes, but the required amount of achievement points and the increased percentage will change as he goes further. Simon agreed without questioning much, which came as odd to the Philosopher's Stone since he thought Simon would ask why. Simon told the stone he roughly expected that much since it's been years he started alchemy. In short, it means it takes more points each time he levels up, so he'd need to invest carefully, he thought. The obsidian tablet is a permanent item, and it's different from consumable items like Astraphi. It means you can use it infinitely once you make it. Besides, the power of human transmutation with the obsidian tablet is beyond question. The Philosopher's Stone then reminded Simon that the 10,000 points and 20% growth rate will apply until the second transmutation. Simon was surprised by this news because it meant that the transmutation cost would remain the same until 40% completion. Simon was happy about it because even just calculating with numbers, the ability of human transmutation would be twice as strong as it is now. Still, it will be good to transmute while keeping some points in reserve, since achievement points are his main resource, he commented. He noticed that even if the clear reward increased, it didn't give him AP, which stands for arena points. He remembered occasionally getting it as a reward for broadcasts of arena clears, but it's expected since it's still the placement test section. Seeing his stats, Simon saw that his alchemy power is now a total of 17. In addition, the Philosopher's Stone level also increased from 5 to 7. Now then, he opened his inventory for the main dish. There were 2 items there. The first item was the Hobgoblin's battle axe, a BB rank item which increased all slashing attacks by 10% and causes paralysis when attacking living creatures. It granted additional strength stats of 5, and only those from level 50 with a strength of 35 or higher could use it. Simon murmured that the axe is preferred by combat types, and the item options are the same as platinum rank. He was surprised to see it even had a +5 strength, which can be seen as the highest grade option. He thought with a grin, usually, the strength stat has options of around 1 to 3. Now that the max value is confirmed, it is excessively lucrative. He was quite surprised to see the second item. It hadn't been long since he regressed, but he felt like he was seeing it after a very long time. He then brought out the Hobgoblin's serum from his inventory. It was called Corrupted Hobgoblin Serum, rank C. It's corrupted by excessive magic, making the toxicity much stronger. Seeing this, the Philosopher's Stone realized Simon endured with medicine until he was transmuted. The side effects of Simon's magic disability caused a physical strength decline and worsened after regular arena battles, followed by an indescribable pain, so he used special potions every time, and the serum was one of the main ingredients in the anesthetic potion. The stone asked him why he hadn't drunk the elixir he made sooner to cure his magic disability. Simon told him it was because of some circumstances. The stone scolded him, saying he had to take care of himself first, but thanks to that, he was transmuted in the best condition. Simon agreed, because if he hadn't transmuted the Philosopher's Stone based on the elixir, the regression wouldn't have been possible. The stone added, saying that regression is something even constellations can't do. The stone's words prompted Simon to ask why it had transmuted to heal him and cause regression. The stone replied, "There is an existence to do that, but the name was censored when he mentioned it." Simon told the stone to repeat what it just said, but the stone told him he couldn't mention the name since it's an existence that even the constellations are wary of. Simon sighed as he lay on the bed, his curiosity about the existence who regressed him fading. The stone asked if he was just giving up like that. Simon replied, "There's no point to it since I can't hear it even if you tell me about the being who regressed me." The stone agreed because the Galaxy Arena is already giving him a hard time right now. They were frantically sending him messages that made his head spin, telling him not to mention it. By the way, the stone asked Simon what he was going to do with the serum since he didn't have magic disability anymore. Simon told the stone there was no need to manufacture it as a painkiller anymore, so he was thinking of making an elixir. The stone had no idea how he'd do that with poison. Poison is also medicine for an alchemist, Simon commented with a grin. "Oh my goodness, I love this so much," the stone exclaimed. The stone was so excited as he wondered how humiliated the poison would feel when its original nature as a poison was transformed into the property of an elixir, which is the complete opposite. Simon felt a bit uneasy with the way the stone was talking, as it sounded like someone with a crazy fetish. The next day, Simon was surprised to see a very tall building. Even the stone was surprised at how incredibly huge the building was. and asked if the place was called the player's Mecca. Simon replied yes, more precisely, it's called Galaxy Agora. The stone asked if the Galaxy Agora was a building provided by the arena. Simon told him it wasn't. The Galaxy Arena directly manages the broadcasting side. Someone then asked Simon if he was an awakened one, saying there would be a brief verification process. Then asked Simon to please put an item in his inventory for verification. Simon did as instructed, and as he was verified, she gave him his player's watch. Simon took it and put it on. The watch had a feature that recorded your personal account and transaction history as data. It's a kind of advanced artifact equipped with various functions, from party recruitment to internal maps of the Agora. The lady asked him if this was his first time at Galaxy Agora, so if he needed instructions on how to use the watch, he could ask her. Simon told her it was okay. I've used it before. Hearing this, she told him to have a good time. As Simon walked, the stone asked him if the many people here were players. Simon replied, yes, some might just be awakened ones, but you won't be able to enter without having an inventory. That's amazing, the stone remarked. That's why it's called the Sanctuary of Players. Then he asked Simon where they were going now. Simon replied, to the player-exclusive marketplaces since I've got something to sell there. As he entered the elevator, he heard people talking about the news of how insane this year's academy graduates were, saying they're the best ever. Especially Kim Sehyuk and Lee Yujong. They're the top two since they already broke the diamond and became ranked players a while ago, they said. They broke through diamond only 4 years after their debut, and they're deemed the best in Korea. The elevator arrived at the 4th floor. Simon smiled while stepping out, prompting the stone to ask why he was smiling. As they walked, the stone was surprised to see so many shops, then questioned if everyone bought and sold ores here. Simon replied yes. Among them, there are more guild shops than individual shops. But why do they try to sell here in these shopping districts instead of the nearby auction house? The stone questioned. Simon told him it's because once it falls into the uniform category, it becomes difficult to auction since most of the reasonable prices have already been set, and it is cleaner to trade with guilds. Simon arrived at the Songsam Guild store. He walked toward the attendant there. He was surprised to see how sophisticated and neat the store was. Such was expected of a big corporation. The attendant asked him with a gentle smile if he was looking for anything. Simon told him he wasn't there to buy, he was there to sell. The attendant was a bit speechless upon hearing he wanted to sell, as it had been a while since someone came to their store for that purpose. Simon then slammed the hobgoblin's axe on the table. The man's eyes widened in surprise as he saw the axe. He held it and observed it, surprised it had a +5 strength boost, which is the best option so far. With a slight grin, Simon asked if it was possible to sell it off right now. The man replied, of course, then showed Simon the recent market prices and details of Hobgoblin's battle axes traded in Galaxy Agora. Simon's mouth widened in disbelief as he saw the 42 million won selling price. The man told him it was sold for 38 million won as of yesterday, but that one had a +4 strength. The man adjusted his glasses, and with a sharp, evil stare, he asked Simon how he obtained the item. You're a production-type player, but you don't seem like a high-level player, the man commented. Simon replied yes with a shocked expression, prompting the man to ask Simon about his level. Level 7, Simon replied, wondering if the man was suspecting him. The man laughed upon hearing Simon's level. You were probably trying to receive the full amount in cash without AP, weren't you? The man questioned. Simon politely told him he thought there was a misunderstanding since he obtained it by running the arena. The man laughed. That's impossible for a level 7 to do, a platinum rank item, dropped only at the top of the rank. Without giving Simon the time to clarify himself, the man told Simon with a greedy smile that if he pressed the bell, the Agora guards would rush in and naturally find the owner of the stolen goods. However, he told Simon that people like him always have pitiful circumstances, so he might be able to help a little. He then offered to pay Simon 10 million won in cash. The man threatened that he wouldn't ring the bell if Simon sold it at that price. Of course, I'll also keep silent about you, he added. Now, make your choice. Simon couldn't hold it in any longer and angrily asked the man if he was kidding him. To the man's biggest shock, someone arrived and said, You're having a very interesting conversation. Since you became the Apgujeong branch manager, you've become very bold, Lee Yujong remarked. Some moments later, in another scene, while sitting on a bench, Lee Yujong opened a drink and gave it to Simon with a smile. Simon thought to himself while looking at her hand. 9 years later, Yujong's hand was holding a hammer soaked in blood. It was the hammer that shattered the head of her grandfather, Chairman Lee Sun-cheol. That day, an unforgettable horror occurred. Not only Chairman Lee Sun-cheol, but also the heads of several high-ranking officials who were gathered there were blown away. And that incident can be seen as the turning point, leading South Korea to its downfall. Simon had no idea why it happened, and the shock he received that day still lingers in his mind. Even people watching the scene were utterly shocked. That day, she was a completely different person from the Yujong Simon knew. Seeing that he didn't take the drink, she remarked that it was strange since her older brother used to love cider so much. Or did his taste change? Simon apologized and told her he was lost in thought for a moment. She remarked that Simon hadn't changed. When he gets focused on something, he can't see anything around him. Simon asked if that's how she sees him. She replied, yes. Thanks to you, I have learned the charm of a man who immerses himself in something. Simun took the drink, smiled, and told Yuzhong she was still the same as always. Suddenly, someone called out for Yuzhong. She told Yuzhong that she had sent her the deposit details she mentioned earlier. Yuzhong was surprised to see it, then told the girl, let's call her Dayoung, that she thought the content was a bit different from what she expected. Dayoung agreed. Yuzhong then told Simun that she had sent him 50 million won, which was the settlement for the hobgoblin's battle axe he sold. Simun was surprised, and told her that the amount was a bit more than the usual price. She told him it was the compensation for a mistake one of her employees caused. Though she'd like to give him more, she couldn't due to some circumstances. Simun told her it was fine. Even though she was the direct descendant, business and personal matters must be clearly separated. She commented with a smile that her older brother was the same as before, that he hadn't changed, which was why she could have such a conversation with him. Simun found her behavior to be so cheesy, he had no idea what was wrong with her. Speechless, he thought. Quite a bit of time has passed since then, so maybe it's not that strange. They left the bench, and as they walked, Yuzhong smiled slightly. Simun then asked her, how is Aunt doing? She replied, she's still unconscious, but she's okay. I have been visiting her regularly to take care of her. Simun asked, is it not just from running around the arena? She shyly replied, actually, I have been using the excuse of visiting her to play in the arena. I have even set up a dedicated access device in her hospital room. She then remembered Simun saying earlier that he got the hobgoblin's battle axe from the arena, so she worriedly asked if his body had now fully recovered. Simun replied, yes, my magic incapacity has completely healed. She was happy for him, saying, that's a relief. But she immediately apologized for how dramatic she was, then congratulated him. Though there was a question she wasn't sure if she had the right to ask, she asked anyway. How did you recover? Simun was speechless for a moment, then told her, I was just lucky. I started to feel my magic slowly returning, and then it was completely healed. She told him, I'm glad it happened. Actually, I was really worried. Even if I looked for treatment methods, there was no cure for magical incapacity. Simun told her, the effort you put in over the years is enough, so you shouldn't blame yourself. She was really touched by his words. Simun told her, it was an incident, and I only did what was natural. She tried to say something, but Simun told her, enough. That was my choice back then. Even if I could go back to that time, my choice wouldn't change. The truth was, Simun secretly mocked himself. Even though he said he didn't regret what happened, why had he not answered his two younger siblings' messages since that day? He questioned himself. Of course, external pressure wasn't non-existent. He was already the child of an outside woman. That alone was enough to cause trouble in the family. Then he became disabled as a player due to the incident. The Kim family probably wanted him to disappear completely, but cutting contact with the two siblings he grew up with as a child was undeniably his own choice. Even after leaving the family, they kept contacting him regularly. Thinking about it again, Simun found it to be really embarrassing. If he were to make an excuse, back then, he just couldn't accept the reality of magical incapacity. He had a bright future with a magic stat of 10, and then he lost everything in one accident. As such, he drew a line with the world, physically and mentally. He couldn't even take care of himself. Maybe, deep down, he resented them both. If it weren't for the two back then, he wondered, would his life have been different? Though he had always regretted the person he was around that time, especially in Yuzhong's case. He wondered, if I had stayed by her side, maybe she wouldn't have ended her life with the label of a traitorous villain. With a bright smile, she asked Simun, did you start the arena recently? Simun, who was distracted in thought, stuttered, then told her, it's only been a few days. I haven't even finished the placement exam yet. If that's the case, she told him, you must need equipment right now. So she suggested he should go to the store with her and buy some equipment. Simun shyly told her, I'm not really in a hurry. You're not in a hurry for equipment. But aren't you in the magic class? She questioned. Simun told her, you're right, my job is alchemist. Now she understood why he wasn't in a rush for equipment. She then asked if he planned to use the money from the sale to buy alchemy materials. Simon replied, yes, I was lucky to get a few recipes lately. She told him, that's great. I actually need some materials too. Simun asked her, what kind of materials do you need since you're in the combat class? Come on, she said happily while swinging her hand. Combat classes don't just swing weapons endlessly. They also make potions to help with training. Simon didn't know this, but still, he added, it would be more efficient to ask an alchemist or another producer for potion making. And, with your skill, you could probably collect all potions with ease. She held his hand, recalling that she didn't have time since she needed to visit her mom in the hospital soon. She then happily dragged his hand to go buy the materials. Since Simun was in the combat class, he was slow, so it would be faster if she pulled him along. Dayoung was surprised at what was going on. She couldn't believe the young lady right now was the young lady she knew. She looked completely different now. Well, maybe this is her true form, she murmured. I really don't know. They arrived at the market. People were selling different kinds of products and potions. Shio was still holding his hands, and after going through the entire market and its products, she told Simun to watch a little longer, since alchemists were always running low on materials. At the same time, passers-by were surprised to see the popular Li Yuzhong, but they didn't know who the person next to her was. They commented that he was quite handsome. Simon told her that what they had gotten was enough since he had bought a lot more than he expected. With a persuading expression, she told Simon to take one more with him, and that it would really be the last one. Simon told her that his inventory was going to burst, but she told him one more wouldn't hurt since there was something she really wanted to give him. Simon thought that shopping with others was scarier than he had expected. She began buying items again while thoroughly sorting out the good and bad materials. Simon was helpless at this moment. He wondered how Yuzhong knew alchemy. He could tell the size and color differences in materials of the same rank in combat, but Yuzhong, who checked everything thoroughly, was usually not easy to deal with, he thought. It may have been necessary before, but to Simon, who could craft the Philosopher's Stone and mythic-grade weapons, things like weapons didn't really matter. All he cared about were ranked matches. Finally, she finished buying, then brought Simon an arena access device, which Simon never expected. She told him it was the latest model made by Seongsam and was still unreleased. The access devices were released in various forms, from helmets to capsules and goggles in front of one's eyes. They were surprisingly the result of Galaxy Arena directly contacting governments around the world. At first, only powerful countries like the US and China could produce them. But Galaxy Arena directly contacted the governments of all countries to stop the monopoly and exploitation by these two nations. And a warning against the monopoly came with it. They even threatened to revoke the qualifications of all players in the US and China. Simon asked her if it was okay to give him something like this. She replied, yes. All the higher-level players from her Seongsam's guild were already using it. It just wasn't commercialized yet. Simon told her that what he meant was that he was an outsider. So could she really give it to him? With a grin, she told him there was no problem. She was offering it herself. Her expression changed. She then told Simon that if Seongsam came looking for it, he must tell her. Simon was speechless for a moment, then shyly told her that even so, wouldn't it be better for him to just buy something suitable from the Seongsam store? She wittily told him to come on. If he ran the arena without a device, he could harm his body. She bit her lips slightly, knowing that Simon's particular habits came out when he tried to be stubborn. She crossed her hands, then told Simon to think of it as a way to pay back the rudeness the branch manager showed earlier if he was worried. Simon accepted it since she put it that way. He was happy for the gift since he was looking to get an access device anyway. He was actually thinking about starting arena broadcasts soon, so this worked out even better. Seeing the time, Simon told her he had to go, to which she agreed since she was just about to visit her mom in the hospital. Simon thought, speaking of which, her mom also has an arena-related illness, so he decided to look into it. When Galaxy Arena opened, a disease known as arena disease appeared in awakened ones, similar to the mana disability Simon suffered from. Simon didn't know the exact name of her mother's disease, but she was once chosen by the constellations, so she should be able to hold on for a while, he thought. She had treated Simon, an illegitimate child like her own, so he decided to grow quickly and start making a cure. Yuzhong called him brother, held his clothes, then shyly told him that actually, he needed to reply to her too. At first, Simon had no idea what she was talking about, but then he realized she was talking about a message. She sulkingly told him that Siyuk was bragging about how Simon replied to him, so she deemed it to be annoying. Simon jokingly thought to himself, we're not kids anymore. He then accepted and told her he'd send her a message when he got home. She was really happy with his words, prompting Simon to softly touch her head. Seeing her expression change, Simon shockingly recalled that girls really hated having their hair touched. So he awkwardly told her to be careful on her way, while he decided to leave before anything awkward happened. Then he wished her goodbye. Dayong came along and commented that Simon really had no manners. Even if he knew someone, just touching their styled hair like that was inappropriate. But she surprisingly wondered why Yuzhong wasn't moving. Could she really be upset? She questioned. She then told Yuzhong not to worry too much, saying she'd fix it for her quickly. Dayong dearly hoped nothing would happen here since it would be troublesome if something did. There were too many eyes on them, especially since everyone was a player. Even with Seongsam's name, it was going to be hard to keep things quiet. But to her surprise, she saw Yuzhong blushing. Yuzhong shyly told her to pretend she didn't see her expression just now. Dayong smirked. Today is really turning out strange, she thought. Back to business, Yuzhong asked her what happened with that thing. But Dayong asked, what are you talking about? Yuzhong cleared her throat and told her to speak freely since it was only the two of them there. Dayong told her that, surprisingly, nothing had been figured out if she was talking about that incident from 10 years ago. Not a single thing. That meant it was as if someone had erased everything. Dayong found it strange. The upper class in Korea was attacked by terrorists, yet there was no information about it. Yuzhong added that even the media, which always rushed to talk about the smallest scandals, had been silent all along. Dayong agreed. Recently, she added, the ST Group Air trolled on a personal broadcast, and the media made a big fuss about it. Something is definitely up, she murmured. Yuzhong agreed. After all, the heir of Sint Group is just a third-generation chaebol who won a small gold medal, yet even a single troll could make the country boil with excitement, so the incident was definitely unrealistic. She commented, saying it really sounded like someone was intentionally covering it up, and it must be someone with significant power. Dayoung told her it was true, and if they went any deeper, there were definitely going to be problems. With a grin, Yujing asked Dayoung if she was scared. Dayoung told her, no way. She was just asking if Yujong was alright since she had a lot more to lose than she did. But Yujong told her, I don't have much more to lose. She looked at Seaman as he was leaving, then remarked, I just got something recently, so I need to know more. Dayoung then asked if they should start the job because once they started, there was no going back. She told her yes, she should go ahead. She should bring any data she had, and if there was an awakened one involved, she should bring their head if she had to, since she recently found a pretty interesting item.